Hello and welcome. In this match I am in the new tier 6 German battleship, the Bayern. And I use these commander skills and modules, and I think that the Bayern is excellent. I would place her at the second best German battleship tier by tier, with Bismarck being number 1. And the reason why I think that the Bayern is so good is because that she is so similar to the Warspite, that is considered to be a rather strong ship, but she is better in quite many aspects. The main ways that the Warspite is better is a better damage control party. She uses cruiser damage control, which has a duration of 5 seconds and a cooldown of 60 seconds, whereas the Bayern gets the German battleship one, which is duration of 15 seconds and a cooldown of 80 seconds. And the other thing that the Warspite has over her is a better heal. But in many other aspects, the Bayern is simply better. She has a similar gun caliber, which is a big thing for the Warspite, because that's what she was unique for. Because she has 381mm caliber, the Bayern has 380mm caliber, and both of them are good enough to overmatch tier 7 and lower battleships from the front or behind. And that is a big thing, because they are the only two that can do it at tier 6. And it applies to tier 7s as well, so it does scale up. Like, the gun caliber is the same as, a Tirpitz, and she has 4 of them, which is 1 turret more than what the Gneisenau gets. And yet she is tier 6, and there are many other things that she is better than the Warspite. Speed, rudder shift, armor seems to be dissimilar, secondaries are similar, anti-air is similar DPS, but she has more range, so I would place her as a stronger, AA platform than the Warspite. And many other things are still similar. And, the big thing is that her guns actually turn properly, so you don't necessarily have to turn your ship to fire every time. And that combined with a higher maximum range and a similar accuracy even. Although I think the Warspite has a slight or maybe even a medium advantage there. Not a very big one, but I think that the Warspite does have an advantage. Although in this match you'll probably not see it, because I'm getting some incredibly lucky salvos. Like that Citadel, I guess that Cleveland did have it coming. She was at like 11 kilometers full broadside on, and now she's literally standing still, so goodbye Cleveland. The thing is that she has good secondaries, but obviously because she is tier 6, they don't really matter, because she can't benefit from, well, she can, but she doesn't benefit as much from the manual secondary skill, nor does the Warspite, which is actually really sad for the Warspite, because I think that, it would be useful if she had it. I wish the skill was more like a curve or something, like, not a straight cutoff at 15 or 60%, but like, maybe make it so that the lower ones, or like the tier 6 one, is like 50%, and if you want to, definitely keep it that way. Although I don't know why you would even have such a cutoff point. I guess maybe to stop seal clubbing or something, but it kinda ruins ships like the Mikasa, I guess. Oh well, whatever. So, the Bayern just feels really powerful. Oh yeah, she is faster than the Warspite, which is ridiculous. She is literally as fast as a Nagata, 25 knots top speed. Obviously you can add speed flag for more of that, but considering what she looks like, she is way faster than what other ships that look like her are. Like the Warspite is like 23 knots or 23 point something knots. I guess the one big downside is that she has 8 guns versus the Fusos and New Mexico's 12. Then again, the Warspite has the same issue anyway, so it's not that different. And that's why I really feel that she is strong, because people consider the Warspite to be a strong ship. And this one just feels better, or maybe they are actually fairly balanced. It's just that this ship specifically fits me better, because, like I've complained earlier or explained with the Dunkirk, for instance, I like when guns turn quickly and all that stuff. The main reason why, or maybe not main, but a big reason why I didn't really recommend people to get the Dunkirk was, well, this ship. I just couldn't tell you guys before because, like, the big thing is that what the Dunkirk has is she points her nose at enemies and then they, you know, can't really pen her hard. But the Bayern can pen her from the front and she is tier 6 as well. Before, you only had to look out for a Warspite who had, you know, other disadvantages. But now with the Bayern it's not really the case. I mean, it doesn't really break the Dunkirk, but right now I wouldn't recommend playing the Dunkirk because there will be a ton of Bayerns around, so it won't be very fun. One thing I have noticed with her is that I seem to... well, I guess maybe I do. I seem to get less penetrations than I'm used to, but I haven't played the Fusa in a while, so maybe it's normal. I don't really like using her to fight battleships from long range, because she is still inaccurate, just like the Warspite, but even a tiny bit more inaccurate, and again, only 8 guns. She does have more range than the Warspite, which is actually really nice, and the Wikipedia page for the Bayern says that she has 16 point something range, 16.6 in top hull configuration, but that's not actually true. It's actually 17.7, which is a big advantage. I believe the Warspite is 16.3 or 16.5, something like that. So you have an over 1 kilometer range advantage over the Warspite, so you can take fights that the Warspite couldn't. But overall, I really like the ship. I feel that she might be a tad too strong even. Maybe. I'm not certain, of course, because you know, there might be aspects I hadn't considered, or maybe I just got lucky. Well, actually no. When I played her, I didn't get lucky. I felt the opposite. I had really poor games quite often, but the ship still felt strong. So that's why I give her such a high evaluation. Even in, like, this might be the best low tier battleship to get up tiered in, or, you know, to be the bottom tier ship. Because unlike, you know, the Fusa or similar, you can actually penetrate, or, you know, not that penetrate, but you have an easier time penetrating tier 8 battleships and similar, because your gun caliber is the same as what the Tirpitz gets, and the Bismarck, and the Gneisenau. So you aren't punished as much. You're not going to just bounce shells as often. Of course, the Warspite is in a similar situation, but again, those quality of life things like a slower turret traverse kinda break it, in my opinion. Also slower ship as well. So in this match we mostly went towards C, enemies went towards A. They held the B cap for quite a while, so we aren't as far ahead as we normally should be, which is probably why we're actually seeing this game. Because if the enemy team hadn't gone for the B cap and we had just taken it, the game probably would already be over and it wouldn't be all that interesting. I do take many of these shots at these higher or longer, further away cruises. Most of them don't hit usually, not as easily anyway. I mean, she does suffer from the same issues the Gneisenau does in the gun department, except that, well, she has 2 more guns, which is a good thing, but the downside is that she has longer reload, 30 seconds, exactly like the Warspite. I'm getting so lucky with these citadels in this match. Like, I don't often get as many, or... well, I guess this is above average, quite a bit. So, I mean, when I played the ship, I got her up. I was bottom tier quite often, and, well, I had some very silly other things, so... when you see the stats later, they will be a lot weaker than they should be. Like, I had a game where, So the way that the testing worked is that Wargaming gave us the ships, but they weren't upgraded as usual. We would have to get the upgrades themselves. What they have is some kind of special thing where the upgrade cost is one silver and one credit, right? When we're testing the ships. But at some point they took the ships away because of, you know, to make it so that people aren't gonna just play one ship all the time, so that, you know, it rotates and stuff. But I didn't get the... Oh my god, 2 citadels. Wow, York, you just got so unlucky. But anyways, at some point they took them away, right? And then when we played some other ships enough times, we got them back again. But the problem was that means the upgrades disappear, and I didn't get the upgrades again immediately, because I didn't want to play her then. I wanted to play her a bit later. But by the time I wanted to play her, whatever the Wargaming does to make the upgrade cost be 1 credit and 1 silver was already gone, so I literally wasted 30,000 free experience and quite a bit of, like 2 or 3 million credits to get the upgrades, just so I could finish testing the ship, so I could actually get, you know, more matches. And right after I did that, I went into a match, and I got team torpedoed by an Omaha. Yeah, what an interesting thing. I guess no good deed goes unpunished. On the bright side, though, I did have quite a bit of fun, and I already had the ship again in the, you know, client because of the free experience event that's going on. It's insane. But anyways, in this match I did 139,000 damage. I got 8 citadel hits, which is incredible on the ship, and I am head and shoulders above literally everybody else in this match. There was only one ship that managed to get over 50% of the experience I got, and that was the Nicholas. This was a pretty surprising game. Maybe this would have been like a down to the wire match if I hadn't been on my team. Because if you look at it, our team didn't do all that well compared to the enemies. It was mostly me, but I got incredibly lucky too. So in conclusion, I really like the ship, and I'm gonna talk about the stats later when I get into the port. And I do recommend keeping her. She's a very good tier 6 ship right now. And honestly, I wouldn't be very surprised if they nerfed her in some slight way, or at least buffed her contemporaries, especially the Warspite. So, the Bayern. These are the stats I have with the ship. As you can see, my win rate is actually pretty low, but I do feel I got rather unlucky with when I was playing the ship. That win rate definitely doesn't reflect the strength of the ship, in my opinion. I mean, just look at one of the notes, team torped. I literally got team torpedoed by an Omaha. He team torped me, I repaired the flooding, and then I got torpedoed by an enemy, and that flooding pretty much killed me, or at least almost killed me. And that just led to a bad game, and on top of that I had a game where I did 7,000 damage. I sailed towards enemies, I noticed enemies, I started running, but then a carrier came, and I couldn't quite run far away enough that enemies still managed to finish me off. But overall the ship is very powerful. As you can see, I have 5 games where I got over 100,000 damage. In a tier 6 battleship, that is incredible. Especially because I did get quite many tier 8 battles when playing this ship. But this ship is... she does really well when she is bottom tier, because she has 380mm guns, so, you know, they are still very dangerous to battleships of the higher tiers, unlike usually lower tier battleships against higher tier battleships, especially at tier 6 versus tier 8 difference. Overall, she felt very powerful, and I really do like her. And she performed very well compared to my other ships. Like, I really like the Fuso. I believe that it's not really worth it to try to compare the Bayern and the Fuso in which is stronger, because I feel they fill slightly different niches, because the Fuso has range and more guns and all that stuff. She's better against the lower tier ships, whereas the Bayern is better than the Fuso against higher tier ships. Average damage wise, they are, I guess, fairly similar for me. Win rate wise, I guess I didn't get quite as unlucky on the Fuso, but my Warspite stats are abysmal. However, they were a really long time ago, and perhaps they would be better now, but I don't know if I really want to do it, because there's lots of competition in the form of Bayerns now. So I do feel that she is a strong battleship, and if I really didn't like the Bismarck so much, I would definitely put this ship as the #1 ship in the German line, tier by tier. So let's compare some of the stats of the ships. I'm not really going to compare her to the Fuso because, well, the Fuso, again, like I said, is a different niche, and there are some things the Fuso is definitely better at, whereas the Bayern is better at some other things. I would rather compare her to the Warspite because they are very similar ships, but there are some definite advantages to the Bayern. Maybe the two are more or less equal, I'm not certain. So the Bayern is a tiny bit less armored than the Warspite, but overall it's actually fairly similar. They have a similar amount of HP as well. So in the defensive department, I guess you could give a slight edge to the Warspite because the Warspite has a 550 meter turning circle with which is better than the Bayern's 630, but the Bayern has a slight rudder shift advantage, but it's a very small one, so it definitely doesn't make up for the turning circle disadvantage. However, the Bayern does get 25 knot speed, whereas the Warspite is 23.5, so the Bayern has a slight advantage. She's as fast as a Nagato, which is pretty incredible in my opinion. So defensive-wise, I guess I would put it slightly towards the Warspite. Offensively, though, the Warspite has 16.3 kilometer range. The Bayern has 17.7. I manually filled it in because the Wikipedia is apparently wrong. If you look at the in-game stats with your B-hull equipped, it's 17.7. So the Bayern has over a 1 kilometer range advantage. Almost 1.5 and even. That's almost 10% by the way. So the Bayern does... you can engage things from further away. You probably don't want to all that much because the guns are still fairly inaccurate, but the possibility is there and that's what really matters. At HE-wise, I guess they are fairly similar, maybe a slight advantage to the Warspite, but you'll never fire HE with either of these ships because of the gun caliber. And AP-wise, I guess the Warspite does deal a tiny bit more damage, but the reload is the same, so overall they are fairly similar in that department. I imagine the 1mm advantage the Warspite gets does give her, slightly more penetration, but it's probably very little. Secondaries are both very similar on these ships. They are both fairly strong for a tier 6 ship, but again, because they are tier 6, they can't take advantage of the tier 5 commander skill, which would give them the manual secondaries. Or, they can take advantage, but it's only 15%, less than the module gives. So I feel like both of them get kinda shafted by this, although I think it affects the Warspite a tiny bit more because, well, the Warspite is a premium ship, so you're more likely to have a commander with 15 skill points on her. AA-wise, I would say that Bayern has an advantage because she has 100 AA DPS at 4.5 kilometers, and if you add all the AA DPS of both of them together, they are fairly similar, but the difference is that the Warspite's main DPS is at 2.5 and 2 kilometers, whereas the Warspite's is at 4.5. And more AA range is a big deal usually. So, and there's only one more thing, concealment. The Warspite definitely has a pretty major advantage there. 1 kilometer is quite something. So yeah, I feel that they actually end up being fairly similar, especially if you consider the fact that the Warspite has a cruiser damage control party and a stronger heal, so maybe they are balanced after all. But they are similar enough so that, I imagine that Bayern is going to do very well, and I definitely like her. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and what do you guys think of this ship if you have already played her? Some people said that she isn't very nice, but I feel that having 8 guns of 380mm just like the Tirpitz is quite something at tier 6. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video as well, and I would like to thank the patrons on Patreon now. Let's go with Martin Wolf today. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I see you guys next time.